Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Vishnuprasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Govinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So thank you all for getting on board. Last week we talked about various forms of sacrifice. And we went to 33 in chapter 4. Okay, so today we're looking at a section called wisdom. And that's what I'm calling it, wisdom. It could be knowledge, one or the other. Remember the chapter is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. We'll go from verse 34 to the end, 42. And so it's not a lot of shlokas, but I really think it's enough, just to make this weekly gathering last. And there's no need to push it. There's no need to go high speed here. Let's try to absorb it at a nice pace. All right? So looking at verse 34, and I will start with this one. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. This is one of the verses that's quoted a lot by devotees. But I would say it's an important one. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastatvadarshina. Some of these words we should be knowing by now. Vidi, of course, refers to Ved, knowledge, to know. Pranipatena, this is in reference to spiritual master. And so it's said here, if you want to learn something, go to someone who knows. Upadekshanti te jnanam. That means you have some questions, get them answered. And so that's indicated by Upadekshanti. You will start on the wisdom. The word Upadekshanti, Jnaninas Tattvadarshana. Sevaya is also a key word in that verse. To do service, to render service. And who is that teacher going to be? Someone who knows the truth. Who's qualified as a teacher or a guru? Usually it's somebody who knows more than you know already. Guru also is translated sometimes as heavy, Heavy. And implying that one is weighty with wisdom, right? You understand? Weighty with wisdom. And like in our modern day terminology in English, anyway, say, oh, he's really heavy, which could be a compliment. Meaning this person, if we say somebody's heavy, it means they're showing some strong dynamic. It might mean somebody's a little bit strong in their presentations. They can be very forward, maybe a little bit overbearing sometimes. And that is not exactly a discredit for the Guru. The Guru is there to enlighten, to make you light, but through the weightiness or the heaviness of wisdom. Okay, so I'll ask this question. Think about it. Here we are, we're all humans. We're struggling in this world. Some of us are trying to make ends meet. Some of us, on top of that, may be struggling emotionally. Some of us may have issues in relationships. Some of us may be failing in our endeavors. Some of us may be physically sick, mentally challenged, intellectually challenged. There's so many problems. So problem solving is something that all human beings attempt to accept as part of their daily regimen. You have a problem, you want to fix it. Chanakya Pandit, he's a great thinker during the time of what they call the Gupta period in India. And he was saying that if you have a problem in the areas of debt, take care of it right away. If you have a problem with disease, take care of that right away. And if you have a fire, in your home, take care of that right away. I think the main message here is deal with it, get on with it, don't delay. Okay. So some people, they're searching for a guru and they spend some time looking. A guru is somebody who should inspire, someone who can give you the education you need. And a guru does many other things besides just teach Shastra. The guru is not just a teacher, but a guru is also a coach. The guru is a guide. The guru is a friend. A guru is someone who inspires, like all of the above. So when a guru teaches lessons on Vedic philosophy, that's one thing. Is the recipient, is the student taking it in sufficiently? Is it being retained? Because you can hear something from a saint, and if it just goes in and you don't retain it, which is possible for a lot of people on the Kali Yuga. Somebody said the other day, one day, we have 70,000 thoughts. I don't know if it's true, but sounds very believable. With that kind of distraction in our life, we can use a little bit of help from a guru. Okay, so a coach. What does a coach do? If we're playing soccer or baseball, football, whatever, what does a coach do? A coach is somebody who gives a direction and especially a lot of encouragement. Giving us the way to move, to pick up speed, perhaps, to give direction, when to kick, and so on like that. A guru could also be, while we're talking about sports, a guru can also be a referee, isn't it? A referee is somebody who will come in when there's a little bit of a dispute, a little bit of doubt between two players or a number of players, and we'll try to sort it out.
Maharaj,
yes.
Your sound is like okay sometimes it's going down and coming up, going down, coming up like that.
Okay.
So just
Maybe I'll just try to stay in one spot. I'm trying to be too theatrical. I'll just stay here like a stone. We'll see how that works out.
yeah.
Okay, so I think everyone gets the idea of what a referee is like. A referee is somebody who should be very neutral, should not be showing favoritism or being, let's say, partial towards one team or one person. That's very important, right? So I think that when we think about guru, we have to think about that's the disposition of a guru, one who emits wisdom and also guides, is a guide. A guru encourages, a guru pats you on the back, maybe not, don't take it like literally. And you don't want to ever do that to your guru, pat him on the back. I had one person who was just a new devotee and he used to take his hand and pat me on the head, And I told him, I think that's not appropriate at this time. All right. So a guru is one who is revered because of what he does. And it's understood that if you get an education, it increases happiness. Generally, that's the implication. Am I right about that? Like, could you Prabhu's nod if it's true? The more you know, the more you're generally happy because a certain level of ignorance is dissolved. And one important thing about these next few verses, we're going to see the word doubt. And it means samshayam. Samshayam means doubt. We all live with it. And we like to clear it up. Okay, so anyways, to such a person that you revere, this guru, this guide, this coach, etc., you'll reciprocate by rendering service. Okay? Can you hear okay?
Yeah, no, but when you were asking about whether you will be happy by knowing more, I was thinking, yeah, when we started knowing about reading teachings of Prabhupada, it was giving us hope, and therefore we were happy. But then the more we read about, the more we read and more we read anything in Prabhupada's books and how we should be chanting offenselessly and this and that, I don't have any hope.
Oh, yes. Well, I see sometimes we shouldn't have too high expectations also. You understand? I don't try to be a pure devotee overnight. I think that's really important. Don't wake up one morning and think, I'm enlightened. No, it takes time. I mean, Arjuna was lucky. In about just a few minutes, he kind of got it. I understand. But for most of us, it's going to take days, weeks, decades. But as long as you can feel some incremental advancement, and one way to know that you're making some progress is that you're losing some taste for sensual enjoyment. When you're saying that doesn't enthuse me much more, not like it used to. No. Because Param Drishva Nirvaratate, I've got a higher taste now. Okay? So I would say that in general, happiness is a concomitant factor that is a result of knowing more. And of course, the more we learn about the world, the more we we can maybe perceive that people are struggling and suffering. But that's okay. We feel content that I know how to cope with difficult circumstances. And all I have to do is impart that knowledge to others who are also suffering. Devotees always have a connection with the public. We see if they're happy or they're sad. And when we see that people are forlorn and not so happy, then we should be compelled to act on compassion. Say, I would like to help. I would like to extend a helping hand. And sometimes it means helping them physically, but if sometimes you could throw a real good one-liner at them. Hey, listen, you're not that body. So I'm not what? You're not that body. Says, well, okay, it's a lot to think about. Get people to start using the buddhi up here, and then you are reacting to your compassion. Okay, so I'd say have a lot of passion for compassion. Have a lot of compassion for compassion. Okay, so what do we do with the Guru? Make inquiry, render service, listen a lot, and keep up that program. Okay? A Guru also is a counselor. Most Gurus are. I would say most devotees who want to be like Brahmin type people, they should probably take counseling courses to understand a little bit more about human behavior. It goes a long way. It does. And let us take a minute now. Let's go to the next verse and see what kind of wisdom are they talking about here? What is this knowledge that is being referred to? What am I to understand? What is the Guru giving me? So I was wondering if Agni Purana could read verse 35 so that we can understand what is being said here. What does the wisdom do for you? Are you ready?
I'm not so ready, Maharaj, because I have my baby here and she's screaming. I can hear all the things you are saying. I just listen my name, Maharaj.
Okay, so you're exempt. Rain, would you like to read?
I'm so sorry, Maharaj.
Yes,
That's
Maharaj, I'll
okay.
read. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, they are mind, that they are mine.
Good. Okay. So what we get out of this is a few components to this verse. And it's very interesting because, okay, I've taken some lessons from the Guru. What should I, what should I count as, what have I achieved here? What's my gain? Okay, and the gain is here. First of all, if you've been very attentive, you're likely not to weaken again because you have assimilated the knowledge. And from assimilating this knowledge or wisdom, you should understand one reality, that everything is within Krishna. There's nothing that is without him. And so that means everything is part of Krishna. As Prabhupada used to always say, part and parcel of Krishna. So that means when you're going about your day, you shouldn't see anything separate from Krishna, because all entities, everything, all elements, all that's out there is within Krishna, enveloped in Krishna. And this is what we mean by Krishna consciousness. To see Krishna in everything, not just in the temple. I see some of you have got your walls adorned with pictures of Krishna. Like I've got a picture here. It's a watercolor on black paper. And it's a picture of our deities. It's kind of on an angle. Sorry about that. But it is, we see the Krishna in the picture, but we also have to take it a step further and we must see Krishna in all things, all beings, all entities, in the air, in the fire, in the water, and so on like that. See that this is what we, and he's active. When he sends us something our way, good or bad, we should try to see, oh, Krishna's sending me something. Like if you play baseball, what do they say? That's a real curveball. That's a ball that came and it curved a bit. Or if a ball comes straight at you, then it's easier to catch, right? But if the ball comes from a strange angle, you might miss it. So we should, if something comes straight or crooked, be ready and see it all as an act of God. Auspicious and inauspicious. Take it as Krishna coming to me, teaching me a lesson. That is the healthiest way to absorb this wisdom.
Maharaj, so we are all conditioned already to accept the good things as Krishna's way. And a lot of times when something inauspicious happens, we are so conditioned in a way that we think, it's kind of difficult to think it's from Krishna,
You're right. So therefore, we should condition ourselves to realize that, whatever is coming my way is an act of blessing. It's a mercy, a moment of mercy. If you see it like that, and you don't draw a line between the two, say, oh, this is Krishna or this is Maya. Okay. Try to see even the attempts by Maya as Krishna testing me. And we should act upon wisdom and say, no, thank you, Maya. Go home. Leave me alone. I'm with Krishna. I'm with God. Yeah, don't bother seeing me again, by the way. Just leave me alone. No. Pick on somebody else your own size. Yeah, so Maya is very powerful. And we know that. He said, I don't want to tangle with you, and I don't want to tango with you. Anybody who's from Argentina knows what I'm talking about. Tangle or tango. Don't dance with Maya.
Tango.
Don't hold hands with the devil. In other words, don't hold hands with the devil. Let him go. Tell him where he belongs. And in fact, it was Jesus that was being approached by Satan. And Jesus was saying, Satan, get ye behind me. I don't want to see your face. Right? Perhaps Satan doesn't have a good look after all. But then we also have to be very careful. That which looks beautiful can also entangle you, right? Watch out for those temptations.
Maharaj, how do we because sometimes Maya can trick you in a way to make you think that it's from Krishna. How do you recognize that? Doesn't that require a lot of help from other sources?
Well, I think one way to learn how to read, whether it's really coming from Krishna or not, it's based on experience. That's one thing. Like last week, I had a drink. Did it do me good? No. Okay. The same temptation comes this week. And you say, listen, I've been here before. This is a deja vu. I've got experience now. No, it didn't do me any good. So I say no. Pick on somebody your own size. Go away. So I think that's one thing. And we should also what also protects us is to follow the line of Dharma. It's a little bit of a tightrope to walk on. But we should carefully absorb what the Guru is telling us and follow suit. The Guru will never, we may give different instructions to different students. The Guru may say, oh, you're clearly a Kshatriya. You should learn how to fight and protect. And we got somebody else, oh, you've got good work ethics. You've got a strong body, strong mind. Keep Krishna in the forefront. You'll be okay. So I think that we have to keep in mind instructions given by Guru, especially like the Guru comes at two levels. One is very personable. If you're lucky to have a Guru that you can see and talk to on a regular basis, that's actually the best. And then sometimes we have Gurus that's kind of removed. Like for me, I never really did any serious personal service for Prabhupada, but I'll hear his instructions through his words, his purports, right? So that's one thing. Follow Shastra, follow Guru, and hear things about the Guru, because that also should be put in our memory bank. And we should be simply always making reference to that. Okay, I've run into a problem. Is there a situation that's similar to my case, which has happened before? Okay, maybe you can refer to Shastra. But what if it's more detailed, more personal? Then it's good to check with somebody maybe who had the same kind of experience. So I think we should do some consultation. We should do some consultation. Don't be shy to talk to somebody that you can really trust and give your heart. I think we already talked about that before, about confessing to or revealing your mind. So just to go for clarity, this verse, rather the whole chapter, it's going for clarity. Wisdom brings about clarity. And you might want to write that down. Wisdom goes for clarity. Wisdom puts out doubts. And that's what we want. We want to be out with the doubt. So how does that come about? Hey, out with the doubt. How does that come about? Refer to Shastra. Look at some references. Think about other situations that are similar to yours. That's what a lawyer does. If a lawyer is stuck with dealing with his client, dealing with a problem, they'll refer to references from the past, precedents that have been set. It's in the files, it's in the books, or it's on the computer. He can find out about similar instances. So I think that, and also there's something about common sense. Common sense. And always bear in mind that whatever I do, I should have long-term benefits in mind, as opposed to short-term benefits. That which in the beginning is like nectar turns into poison, usually. And that which in the beginning is a little bit like poison usually turns into nectar. So therefore, we do some tapasya, we do some austerity, which feels a little bit like poison, but in the end, something very beautiful comes out of it. Okay, so, think about it again. Verse 35 is very critical. Okay, what do you get from the Guru? The Guru gives you a sense that Krishna is always there for you. He's in everything. And we are all in him. And what is the verse? How does it say it? Rain was reading it to us. She was saying that they are mine. We belong to him. Krishna's the owner. That's another important point. Formula for peace. It says everything's owned and controlled by the Supreme. God's our dearmost friend. And the other one is God is the proprietor. And the enjoyer, proprietor, friend. You know those three things. And you will get peace. Okay, so I think we can go to the next shloka, next verse. This verse is similar to another one in the Gita, Apichit Sudaracharo. Twice Krishna mentions this in the Gita. He's talking about somebody's on the path and they fall. They fall into sin. How are we supposed to see them? How are we supposed to respond? So maybe somebody else can read this. Vaishnavi, would you like to read this?
Can I read that, Maharaj?
Pardon me?
Can I read it?
Yeah, sure. I was going to ask you, but it looked like you were far away from the book. Go ahead.
Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries.
Good. So this verse and another one found that's similar. Apiche Sudaracharo Vashati Mam Ananyava says a similar thing. It's saying even if you commit an abomination, if you're rightly situated, then you can be reinstated. So this is about reinstatement, okay? Let's say if you do something wrong, but if you have wisdom under your belt, as the saying goes, if you apply wisdom, you will be able to overcome difficulties because of the application. And that's what it means to be rightly situated. Those are the terms Prabhupada used. To be rightly situated means to apply your wisdom. So I would say that maybe one of you can look in the index and find out the other verse that sounds like this. Apiche Sudaracharo. Would somebody like to volunteer to get that verse for us? Or maybe we can all look. Everybody look at your Gita. All right. I'll give it to you again. Apiche Sudaracharo. And once you've found it, please let me know that you found it and give us the chapter and the verse.
9:30.
Yes, chapter 9. Can everybody go to that? Everybody there?
9:30.
Yeah. That's right. Apiche Sudaracharo Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak Sadur Eva Samandravya Samyag Vyavasito Hisaha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Let's look at verse 436. Even if you're considered to be the most sinful of all sinners or doing abominations, when you're situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. So both are similar. They run parallel in that if you do something that's un-Krishna conscious, you can be reinstated according to chapter 9 because you are determined in your devotion. Okay? The verse that we're looking at now, verse 436, you do something very bad, if you apply your wisdom, then you will be able to overcome. Both of these verses speak about overcoming. our weaknesses. Even if we've hit a wrong spot, we can, let's say, reinstate ourselves with Krishna. And you have to be very determined. Yes, go ahead.
So, with regards to that verse, I understand, like, for the individual devotee, but let's say if someone else, and we're observing them, say if someone has committed the most abominable act, say, abuse or something like that, how should one deal with that? Like, I guess on the terms of acting with them, but I guess there's two aspects of this: seeing them in your mind, or how.
Hey, you got muted, Mandalaram. I don't know.
How do you deal with something like that on like the legal scale, I guess, or because there's two ways you may perceive them in a way, and you may see them as saintly if they're rightly situated, but do you just forgive them, forgive and forget type thing, or do you still take action against them, even though you may not harbor something in your heart? How do you go about seeing others that may commit, acts like that too?
Maharaj, your mic is muted, Maharaj. So. Maharaj?
Maharaj, your mic is muted and possibly your video turned off.
Yeah.
You're still muted, Maharaj. There we go. Oh, yep. Just once, Maharaj. Just press it once. It's still muted, Maharaj. Yep. There you go.
Okay. So your question has to do with the fact that, say you're the victim of some abuse, right? Are we supposed to forgive that person? Or how do we deal with that abuser? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, how would one go about that? Even if they, I guess, reconcile in their spiritual life, do you consider them saintly? You just forgive and forget? Or do you still, to some degree, take action or step away from them? Or how would one go about that if they're affected by someone's abominable act?
Right. I think you do have to try to protect yourself in case there's a second onslaught. I think that's wise. But I also feel that we should try to give a person, it depends on the degree of the case. We should try to give a person a chance to rectify themselves, to ask for forgiveness, for apology. Maybe they want to do that. And if the conditions are such which doesn't allow that, that's very, very unfortunate. Because our legal. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, Mars.
Okay. The legal system that we have is not so ideal in terms of dealing with these kind of cases. I think that's one thing that tribes used to do. If there was clearly a case of abuse, that person may come in. They have a term for it. The abuser may come in, the victim may come in, and if the person really has the feeling of apology, that person has a chance now to speak his or her mind. Before the individual, and sometimes in the public, I think it's very complicated. If the vilifier admits to the wrong, that's really healthy for the person. And then if he asks for forgiveness, one should consider it. Really, sometimes that kind of shaming can go a long way to helping the situation within a village or within a community and so on like that. Those are the kind of techniques that have been used in the past. But now we have a legal system saying, I don't like this person, I got to protect myself, I have to see a lawyer, etc., etc. Well, if things can be done more the Vaishnava style, through talk, through prayer, Krishna, help me with my weakness. Or if you're the victim, Krishna, please help that person that has been so hard on me. Please help him or her to see that there was some wrong. I think devotees need to resort to prayer, forgiveness, give another chance, and also, but not to be naive. Okay, there are some people who are mean-spirited, but I think you're talking about a person who you see is trying. So surely you should give that person a chance, because according to these two verses, 9:30 and 4:36, Krishna is willing to forgive and forget, right? So I think that let Krishna take the lead with this. Forgiveness is one of the greatest qualities of a Vaishnava. To forgive and forget is divine. Divine.
Okay, wait.
You know what? Chanakya Pandit had said this. The beauty of a cuckoo bird is its ability to have a sweet song to offer. He offers. The beauty of an intelligent person is demonstrated by when they speak. The beauty of a woman is in her ability to be loyal, to be chaste, hang in there, etc., etc. And the Shastra also, Chanakya Pandit in particular says, and the beauty of a Brahman or Vaishnava is in the ability to forgive and forget. Okay, and if you see somebody constantly says, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and they keep making the same mistake, after a while, you just to conclude, well, you're not serious, that's all there is. I'm not going to deal with you.
Can I, Maharaj?
Yeah.
Also, we also have to take into account how well the people around, how other people are going to be protected from it, right? Like, we got to take into account how this is going to affect the people around,
Yes, well, in general, I think if people are willing to forgive and forget, and when they see the vilifier or the criminal or the wrongdoer, if he or she is actually trying to make an honest effort, then that melts people's hearts. It's always a good idea not to be naive, but to sort of keep an eye on the person, and hopefully that individual will steadily make progress on the spiritual path. So it's good to keep your eyes open. Let's go to the next shloka.
Maharaj,
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Often abusers are in denial, especially if it has been long time back that they did an abuse, Often
Right.
they're in denial because they don't know how they shall continue living. If they admit everything, then what will happen?
Well,
to their
I believe that what we should look at in these two shlokas is that that person cannot be regarded as saintly, right? That person is not rectified if one is denying. It just means they haven't become cured of the problem. So I would not put that person in that category, because looking at 9:30, it is said, if he's engaged in devotional service and properly situated in his determination is the key word here. Vyavasiddha. One has to be very determined in one's service, very have strong conviction about not making the same mistake again. And in verse 4, 39, sorry, not 39, jumping ahead. 36, it is said, if someone is a great vilifier, abuser, if one is properly situated in transcendental knowledge, situated, keyword, situated in the boat of that means acting upon that wisdom. So if we talk about people who are denying they abused, and it's clearly evidence shows they did abuse, they cannot be trusted, and we need to stay away from them, and maybe pray for them. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people with bad habits. They're chronic. That means they keep making the same mistakes. Those people don't fall into this category. Correct?
Yeah.
Because they're not showing determination. They're not going through a healing, and they're not acting upon transcendental wisdom. So they really haven't. They will have to show in time. They will have to prove in time that they're changed. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't change.
Yeah. It seems Krishna is sometimes very patient. It seems, I mean, in all societies, abuse is happening in almost all of them, institutions, And
Yes.
so in our society movement, it seems Krishna is more patient than all the members,
Well,
Right.
I would just, when I look at these two shlokas, I would say we're not talking about chronic abusers.
Yeah.
We're talking about like an incidental fall down or accidental, that terms that Prabhupada used, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Accidental, someone's made a mistake, they feel bad, they're rectifying themselves, they're proving themselves. Those people are determined and they are applying wisdom. But most of the people, the kind of people you and I and most of us have heard about, are the ones who deny, are the ones who have chronic problems, and they cannot be rectified. The only thing that will rectify them, I don't even want to tell you what sometimes the Shastras say. If somebody has a problem with one of their, addiction, sex addiction, they might have to lose a part of their body and told, go, get out of our community. That's pretty severe. But we're not talking about that here. I honestly, I don't believe that these two verses focus in on such kind of abusers.
Yeah.
The ones you and I are talking about, they're repeated offenders, right? That means they have no determination and they're not applying wisdom, that's all. So just look at those key phrases. You'll find that those deniers, they do not apply. They don't fit into these boxes.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Unfortunately, we live in a world that breeds these kind of predators. It's a fact.
You mean in Kali Yuga?
In Kali Yuga. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The
Yeah.
culture is such that it promotes promiscuity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a fact. And like pornography and all the other things that we touched about a little bit in the past. Like, I think we should be more like Mennonites or something. We should go back to being chaste and being very protective. I mean, just like I had seen something the other day on one of these programs, America's Got Talent, right? And there was an 11-year-old girl, and she was making moves like Beyonce. And everyone was raving about it. And I thought, this is very wrong. Those are not the movements that you teach your children. They should be very discouraged. So the point is that people are starting when they're young, very young. Like kids are looking at pornography, and now it's like 38% are women now. That's rising too. Like everybody is entrapped in these what we call, let's say, it should be forbidden actions. Remember the other day we called it Vaikarma. Vaikarma activities.
Vikar.
Or Vikarma. Vikarma, Vaikarma. Yeah. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
I hope I appreciate the question because it also solidifies for me. It makes more concrete for me. You know, this kind of question which may come up, and so I was happy that we compared notes. We looked at these two shlokas. They are very parallel, and these verses do not apply to the offenders that most of us hear about. So we live in an experimental world. I'm talking about the karmic world, the world of Kali Yuga. And we're experimenting, we're trying things out. We have no guidance. We're confused, and we're just kind of experimenting, and it's not working out. We don't want to follow the Shastra. So to follow Shastra means to follow at least karma or akarma. Akarma is the best. Karma means you follow some kind of Vedic regulations. But we're tied up in the world of Vikarma, which means no rules. Do whatever you like. Whatever you like. Any perversity is okay because it makes you feel good, as long as you're not harming anybody else, which usually you are. Okay, let's go to the next shloka. Would somebody like to read 37?
Yes, but there is a couple of comments in the Facebook
Okay, let's go for it.
about what you were speaking. So the fire of repentance purifies the offender, meaning.
Yes.
And then also both were made by same person, Vijitatma Das. Kali Yuga is making leaps and bounds. And that's it.
Leaps and bounds in what area?
I don't know. It just said.
Of rectification. Okay. Yes, of course, repentance. We are talking about, apologizing. I'm sorry, really having it come from the heart. That's why sometimes heavy pressure has to be applied on such offenders. Heavy pressure. Otherwise it doesn't work. Their offenses are so deeply rooted, that it's pretty hard to pull the roots out. So at some point, they might say they're relaxed, okay, I won't do it again. But because the roots haven't been pulled out, only at the base, at the ground level, therefore they'll come up again. We haven't gone through the proper atonement, which in Sanskrit is called prayaschita. Thanks for the comments. Okay, verse 37. We want to try to finish this. Oh, it's almost 6 o'clock already. Oh my God. Okay, so why don't we just do one more verse, and then next week we'll finish this chapter. Okay, here's a nice, remember earlier on, a few weeks back, we were talking about visuals, imagery. Here's another one, other images from the Gita that makes it very clear. So can I get one person to volunteer?
Can
To
I,
read
Maharaj?
it? Once again? Okay.
No, I my first time, Maharaj.
Oh, I thought you were ununderstood.
Now we are quiet at home.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay. I'm sorry, but now with the Spanish translation and with the Russian also. So I don't know why my son loved the Russian translation, but if you can.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Now
don't worry.
As a blaming fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reaction to material activities.
Okay, so this wisdom that we've been talking about has such a power that it can destroy these more negative tendencies, negative actions. You know? So education will do that. It will burn out certain desires and turn it like wood to ashes. It's a nice image. It's a nice image. I drove through an area shortly after there was a forest fire. It was so hard to look at. It really was, you know, but fire is oftentimes necessary. What happened was I came to walk there 10 years later. I walked through that area and I remember the fire, the devastation after. So when I came up and walked through that bush, that forest, I saw it was all coming up nice and green, thick, dense forest, mostly softwood or coniferous trees. So I thought, okay, maybe there was something to the fire. Sometimes farmers, they burn the field. Why? To get rid of certain weeds, undesirable plants, and also to create a more fertile situation for the ground. They create what's, controlled fires, right? So Agni, because Agni just wrote, and Agni means fire. It's very appropriate. So when there's a fire, everything comes up nice after that, after the ashes. And in the case of coniferous trees, they have like these cones and seeds are in the cones. So they explode, or they're distributed, and they go into the ground and they come up as new trees. It's quite magical, honestly. So we're saying, let the fire burn. Let the fire of wisdom burn up these negative tendencies. After all, fire is a pure substance, but it has to be controlled. Just like if you go to some of these homes in India where people live very humbly, they may use cow or goat dung as fuel, but it's fire, and they control the fire. These people are masters that look at dealing with fire, so you have to know how to deal with it. It's one of the great purifiers of the world. So when RT comes, like the Dia comes around at RT time, you contact fire, you put it to your head, and as an act of purification. He's very positive. He protected Sita from Ravana.
Yeah, Maharaj, on that note, there's some seeds that only fructify after a forest fire, and then they start to grow from there.
Inquire, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's exactly what happens. Like our community in British Columbia, most of the forests, according to the experts, they're saying they're mature now. They should be on fire so that new growth will come up. That's a very tricky thing, though. Okay, so I hope we covered some good territory here. And important verses are there, like Guru, why should we have one? What do we get from the Guru? Or Gurus plural. Let's not assume that you have one Guru. Let's assume you have several Gurus in your life. And that they're basically saying the same thing. And then we talked about Well, wisdom is highlighted, of course. And what happens if you have a fall down? You make a mistake. People make mistakes. But if you repeat making mistakes, it's very hard for people to take such an individual seriously, right? So it looks like you have to learn the hard way. Okay, so we didn't cover too much territory, but I hope it's Krishna's territory.
For taking your time, Maharaj.
I hope it was helpful. So I really appreciate the questions, you know.
Thank you for going slow, because this is maybe study better.
Say that again.
Thank you for going slow. This way we study it better. Thanks for being patient and taking your time.
We love getting together with you weekly. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Maharaj, muchas gracias a usted.
Did I say it okay?
You say perfect.
De nada, Maharaj.
Okay. Okay. All right. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Maharaj.
I will-
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Thank you.
Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj ki.
Jai!
Bye.
Mandala Prabhu, send some Govinda's food to us.